Good evening, students. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Okay, the screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, the screen. Okay. So before going for the topic of breeding, will be couldn't prepare the slide for economic botany. So this is the notes I made out of some books. So I'm just sharing that one. Hope my handwriting is somewhat readable. Is it readable? I'll be explaining anyhow. Still, okay. So today we'll be dealing with thing that is system of classification. Okay. So basically, plant kingdom has two system of classification, that is ancient and modern system. So ancient system is basically based on the thing that is based on habit of the growth habit of the plant, like whether the plant is herb, shrub, or anything, means whether the plant is growing high or it is having a woody structure or not. Based on that, it is decided. Then modern system is based on three things. Basically sexual parts, like whether the plant is flower is means the plant is carrying only male flower, female flower, or both, or which type of sexual second thing is relationship between the plant, that is the relation to consider. Third thing is the phylogeny. Phylogeny is the what thing would have originated, and their classification, that is phylogenetic classification. Okay. Then coming to the next thing, that classification is of three types, that is artificial, natural, and phylogenetic classification. So in artificial classification, we have okay. So in the artificial system of classification, uh, hello, yeah, artificial system of classification focuses only on few characters. Okay, so that was not a very advanced one, like previous to very old classification that was given by Linnaeus and all, that was based on artificial system. Then natural system came, that was based on the relationship, actually not that much clear. Then third thing came, that is the phylogenetic relationship. Okay, the phylogenetic one, that is based on the evolutionary affinities. Okay. Then next thing is present taxonomy. Present taxonomy is partially means partly natural present taxonomy. Okay, so taxonomy plant begins with the Greeks, means they have actually given worked so much. So here the important facts we need to remember in the today is the very first session for economic botany. So I have taken some of the scientists and their contribution because they are very famous. So what they are called and what their contribution to science we'll see. So Theophrastus, he's the famously called as the father of botany, right? And he was a student of Aristotle, and his book that is important, that is Historia Plantarum. What he written in that thing is the plant classification is given, and he considered thing plant as herb and shrub, and plant is the most evolved one, and herbs are primitive one. That's how we thought. And he classified the plant as annual, biennial, and perennial. He also noted that means nature of corona, then position of ovary, all these things he has noted. Okay. And the classification he gave, that was strictly artificial system of classification. If somebody asks like Theophrastus system of classification is which kind of classification, so it is artificial system of classification. Then these two scientists you might not be that aware of. Albertus Magnus, he first distinguished the two terms, that is monocot and dicot. Okay. Then Otto Brunfels, he first recognized the perfect and imperfect flower. Can anybody tell me what is perfect and what is imperfect flower?
Ma'am, in perfect
Yes.
flower, all the plant parts are available with the flower. I mean, the calyx, corolla, each and every portion is there. But in imperfect, anyone is missing, or else more than that too is missing.
Yeah, yes, yes. So basically, a flower has four holes. So from coming from outside to inside, outside hole, totally outside means from outside the first hole will be calyx. That is totally for protection protection to bird. When the flower is originating, that time it will protect the bird. Then next to it is corolla. That is the colored thing that helps in the attracting the pollinators to flower. Then stamen is the makes the third hole, and inside in the center you'll find the female structure, that is the carpel. Okay. So if all the four holes are present, that is called as perfect flower. If any of them is absent, that is called imperfect flower. So that first time was recognized by Otta Brunfels. Then John Ray, he is a famous English botanist. He first used the term monocot and dicot. First distinction was given by Magnus, and first term was used by John Ray. Okay. Then the modern genre concept was found by this scientist, that is D. Tonfort, and this Camerarius, you all of you know, he is here. Countries comes also important. Like sometimes they used to ask the scientist belongs to which country. So Camerarius was a German botanist. You need to remember he was from Germany, and the famous work he did is first time demonstrated the sexuality in plants, sexuality in flowering plants. This is his famous and most important contribution, and he proved the essentiality of pollen in fertilization process. Before them also, before Camerarius, several people have studied fertilization process, but some studied in animals, some studied in some invertebrates, but first time Camerarius only proved this. Okay. Okay. So next thing is, these are some of the books by these famous authors. Like you can see over here, Historia Plantarum. It was written by Theophrastus also, and John Ray also. Okay. Next, Dioscorides. Okay, it is not that much important. Caesar Pino, Andres Caesar Pino. You know there is a family called Caesar Pinaceae. I think you might be heard somewhere. Caesar Pinaceae, that was given before this particular scientist. That is Andreas Cisalpino. His famous book is Day Plants. And then Casper Bohinia, you might have heard a plant called Bohinia. So his famous book is Phytopinax, an introduction to botany he also wrote, and the famous book is this Phytopinax. Okay. Then John Ray had two books, that is Methodus Plantarum and Historia Plantarum. Linnaeus has General Plantarum, Species Plantarum, he wrote. Then next to him, APD Candle has done so much of work along with your Vabilov. You can, wherever you find the contribution of Vabilov in the classification and center of origin things, there you can find the importance and of this scientist Epide Candle. He given this thing, that is theorin demantre. This is in, I guess this is in German or Spanish, some language. Then next, me, what is the book Darwin has written? Yeah, it became visible. Okay, so Darwin has written the book that is about this Darwin's work. That is, he has written the book in 1959, and there are several volumes of this book also. And Bentham Hooker, there is a famous scientist who has given the classification, modern classification. Right now also, we sometimes we used to refer those books. So his book is famous book is Genera Plantarum. So here you can notice that there are books with similar Okay, so that was in brief about some economic botany section. We will coming to the main topic, that is mode of reproduction and apomixis. That was today's topic. So I hope previously also Yamini ma'am has taken the class on this. You would have seen the lecture. So basically the mode of reproduction section I'll be discussing with you. I'll not go for details. So I expect that you will answer, give me answers quickly. Okay. Okay, let's start. Uh, so what do you mean by vegetative reproduction? Anybody? Please answer quickly. We have the big chapter apomixis to cover. I want all of your clear understanding in apomixis, so I'll be giving much time to that. Please, so that we can quickly finish this reproduction chapter. Anybody? Vegetative
In
reproduction, what is it?
vegetative reproduction,
Yeah. Tell.
there, yeah, there is no need of both the parents. In vegetative reproduction, the plant oneself is able to produce the offspring through its plant parts rather than the flower parts.
Yeah, that means the core concept is the vegetative parts. Instead of a reproductive part, that is flower, the vegetative parts of the plant, that is from stem or from root, from leaf, from any other vegetative parts, if the reproduction is happening, that condition will be called as vegetative reproduction, right? Okay. Then next term comes uh, in vegetative reproduction we can see various parts from where the plant can arise, like underground stems, subaerial stems, bulbils. Can anybody tell me the example of subaerial stems, where in which plant subaerial stems are used for vegetative reproduction?
Banana, strawberry, mint also.
Strawberry.
Runners are used in
Strawberry.
strawberry.
Sorry, a little bit louder.
Runners are basically used for propagation in strawberry. So runner is a strawberry stem. And the sucker, stolon.
Yeah, runner is a subaerial stem. Yes, correct. Shakkar stolons are also subaerial stems. Yes. Okay. So they are found in various plants. If
Ma'am,
you see in,
mints,
yeah, in means it is found in dead palm also you can find subaerial
date,
stem. Yeah, reproduction. Then another question I want to ask, like there are bulbs, there are bulbils. Where you can find the bulbs and where you can find the bulbils? In which plant?
cardamom, we can find bulbils, agave,
Yeah.
Garlic
Another
also.
famous, yeah, garlic is a famous example. Yes, cardamom and agave we said correctly. And along with that, the famous example of bulbil is the garlic. So bulbils are basically
garlic,
what modification means, which part is modified to bulbil? Anybody?
And flower.
Yeah, bulbils are
flower.
modified flower. What? Flower. Yes, it is flower. Bulbils are modified flowers. Okay. Then next thing is the gametogenesis, sporogenesis. Are all of you aware of it, or shall I discuss? Gametogenesis is the process of. I think ma'am has already discussed that thing. That's why I'm skipping it. If you are not understanding any point, please tell me. I'll explain it. Gametogenesis is the
I
formation.
was not there in the previous class.
That class is available, the recording is available, you can watch the class, and if you don't get any point we can discuss, okay? Because we are already running short out of time, no? That's why I skip that particular portion. Okay, I'll tell in the brief. Okay, so there are two processes in the sexual reproduction of plant. You can find two processes, that is gametogenesis and sporogenesis. Gametogenesis is the process of formation of gametes. Okay. And okay, then what else? there is a list of ploidy label you need to remember, like which part of flower is which ploidy label, like let's say your embryo sac, anther wall, and ovule, all the ploidy labels of all parts of flower you need to remember. I'll give you a list, just remind me once that you need to remember. Okay, remind me once after the class, I'll give you that list. And here what else, that is the list of self and cross pollinated crops is there. So for the important crops like C, maximum of the Solanaceae crops they belong to self-pollinated ones. Maximum of the cereals they belong to self-pollinated ones. Maximum of the legumes they belong to self-pollinated ones. The exceptional crops means in the cereal there are few, 3, 4, or 5 cereals which do not belong to self-pollinated. Anybody can tell which cereals are cross-pollinated?
Ma'am, rye,
Yeah,
Maize, rice,
maize, rye,
bajra,
bajra.
bajra.
sorghum.
Yeah,
Sorghum is often called.
sorghum is often cross-pollinated. So means you remember like that, means if you go on remembering everything, all the crops, that will be very cumbersome job, means you may forget. So take a class like cereals, I just now I mentioned. So most of the cereals are self-pollinated, most of them belong to graminy, and most of them are self-pollinated. Okay, so you need to remember the exceptional things, right? Next thing is legumes. In legumes, basically you can see the cleistogamy. Their flowers will not open at all, and in some places you can see chasmogamy also. Okay, so because of that reason, they are basically self-pollinated. Self-pollination is ensured. But there are certain legumes where you can find the cross-pollination also. So like that, you need to remember the exceptional things. So that will make your understanding and your memory somewhat easier. Okay, and from this table the most important thing which is getting asked frequently in the exam, that is often cross pollinated thing. Okay, every time they will ask one question from often cross pollinated. So all the crops whatever comes under often cross pollinated, they are very important. Tell me the names of often cross pollinated crops. Yes.
Jowar, cotton, jute, tobacco, pigeon pea.
Okay, then triticale is
Uh,
also
Cauliflower,
Rice,
often
cauliflower.
yeah,
cross
rice.
Yeah,
pollinated.
critical.
Rye is
Yes,
often
ma'am.
cross pollinated. Then some
Hmm.
species of brassica is often cross pollinated. In brassica actually there is a very wide
Tempestris.
range of classification you can find, so it is little bit difficult to deal with. Then safflower, in some books they have written like often cross. I need to confirm that with some other books. Okay, safflower, keep on a pause, we will see that. Okay, next another thing it is important over here is what is the term do you mean, what do you mean by the term that is anthesis? What do you understand from that?
This is the process
Ripening
of
of anther.
opening of flower.
Opening of flower.
Opening of flower, yes, it is the opening of flower, means when the flower first opens, that particular thing, that particular process is called anthesis. Why anthesis is important? It is important to breeders because if we have an idea that when the flower will open, we can regulate the entry of the outside pollen. If we are leaving the plant for selfing, means we can put a cover simply and let it go. If we want to make a cross in the particular flower, then we need to know when the particular flower will open, or else if you don't know and flower is already open by the time you go to the particular plant, then outside pollen would have come, no, so you will not get the cross product, right? So that is the particular thing why we need to know the anthesis, what the anthesis is. Okay, then in case of that we'll study in case of rice, no problem.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
may I
one
ask something?
question.
Yeah, please. Yes.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
under diclini, ma'am, dioecious and okay, you first ask.
uh,
you
uh,
can
uh.
ask.
Diclini, okay, under diclini.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, under diclini, ma'am, dioecious and monoecious two conditions are there.
Yeah, Yes.
Ma'am, the monoecious condition, ma'am, that is favoring self pollination or cross pollination.
Monoicy condition, what the means, what is the condition? Which type of flower will be there? Tell me.
Ma'am, there will be presence of male and female flower, but separate on the same plant.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm
See,
asking that
why?
this feature
So
is
you are confusing with the thing that why monoicy is promoting cross pollination. That's what you are worried about, right? Am I correct?
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So
Ma'am, gate
see,
monogamy condition will be there.
yeah. Gate-nogamy condition might be there. Means gate-nogamy
Ma'am, then it
condition
will be
might
self
be there.
pollination.
In that condition, it is self pollination. They are not declining that particular fact, but thing is that that again depends on the position of the particular flowers, right? Position of the particular flower. Let's say in a particular plant, just for common example, I'll be taking that maize. In maize, where the male flowers are placed on very top, and female flowers are based are on the means where it is present. In the leaf angles,
Mid
basically you can find the
mid
female
position.
flowers, isn't it? The cobs you can find there, right?
Yes,
So the
ma'am.
silk you find in case of maize, that thread like thing, which resembles hair like structure, means old ladies hair like structure, it resembles brownish thing. That is actually the style, right? That is actually the style which will carry the pollen. Okay. So there what happens is, in the very top it is present, that maize flower is present in the male part is present on the top, female part is present on the bottom. So logically speaking, what you will think, that male flower will just blow away, and it will fall on its own plant, and it may give rise to what, seed. Why that is not happening? Why? Because there is some sort of maturation time variation is also there. Okay, so nobody is denying the fact that if there is a condition called monoicy, that one plant is having both male and female flower together, but at a separate position, there is a chance that the same plant's pollen may fertilize the plant's pistil. But there arises other conditions also we need to see, whether the both the gametes are maturing at the particular time or not. Means the condition that protandry or protogyny is there or not, whether there is any sort of barrier present or not. That sort of thing we need to see, that is hercogamy condition is there or not. Means all those sort of thing we need to see before a particular fertilization event can happen. So nature has made the particular structures in such a way that even if they are present on the same plant, they cannot fertilize each other because of some or other barrier. Okay, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
It has something to do with protogyny or
Yeah, in case of maize, you can, what you can find, protandry or protogyny, tell me.
Protoentry.
protoandry,
Protandry.
ma'am.
Protandry you can find in case of maize, that is male part, that is the your stamens mature earlier than your pistils, right? So that stamens which mature earlier, they will be blown away. That is wind pollination is there in case of your what, maize, isn't it? So that air dispersion will occur for the pollen, they will go and they will fall on some other plants style, and they will fertilize them. So that's what happening in case of your maize. Okay. So coming to this particular section, that is the mechanisms promoting self or cross pollination. What is important to remember is, what are all the methods like cleistogamy, chasmogamy, what are all the methods, what are the example of the particular method. Directly from the example they will ask you, okay, like just now I told you, like where the protogyny is present, palmilate, where the protandry is present, then you can tell that maize and sugar beet. So they will take the particular crop and they will ask you in which particular, I mean, in this particular crop, which particular condition is present, right? Next important thing is the pollination event, pollinators, like whether it is pollinated by wind or water or insect, like that. So can anyone tell me what is the pollen, if the pollinator is ant, what that particular pollination event will be
It's
called
Mimicrophilia.
it's
myrmecophily. Yes.
into
If it is by snail, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Hello.
snail. Yes, ma'am.
If it if it is because of snail, if the snail is the pollinator, then what the process will be called as? Anyone?
Molly.
Try to answer. No. Except one or two, you would have seen, means previously all are present in the class. In the very first class, we all discussed this. Okay. That process is called as malacophaly. Okay. There is another list that also I'll provide you. Don't worry. Okay. Then tell me which is the condition where flower will not at all open. That condition is called what?
Christogamy.
Okay. In chasmogamy, what is the condition? What happens in chasmogamy?
It opens after fertilization.
Pollination after.
Pollination, not fertilization.
Pollination.
If it is after fertilization only, it is opening means crossing will occur. No. So it is
Yes,
not
ma'am. Yes.
fertilization. Flower will open after pollination. So even if other pollens are falling at that particular flower, nothing is going to happen. Okay. Because that pollination event is already over and the pollen tube has already grown up. Okay.
Ma'am, may I
Then,
ask something?
yeah. Please.
Ma'am, actually, there is a confusion between gamete and gametophyte. Like, ma'am, in pollen grain, we will call gamete as a generative nucleus or whole pollen grain.
Pollen grain is the male gametophyte. Always and always remember, pollen grain is the male gametophyte. Okay.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Pollen grain
Along
is carrying male gametes. So
yes,
male
ma'am.
gametes will be derived from which nucleus?
Generative
Generative nucleus. Vegetative nucleus, what it does? It will grow into
pollen
pollen
tube.
tube. Okay. So pollen grain may fall at two-celled or three-celled condition. If it is falling in two-celled condition means it is having generative nucleus and vegetative nucleus and the coat outside it. That's it. And if it is falling at three-celled condition means generative nucleus will stay. Vegetative nucleus will stay as such. It will not divide further. Generative nucleus will divide into two male gametes. Okay, the structure which carries the male gamete, that is called as male gametophyte. The structure which carries the female gamete, that is called as female gametophyte. What is female gametophyte? Can you tell me what is the female
Ma'am, embryo
gametophyte?
sac. Embryo
Yeah,
sac.
embryo sac is a structure which is also called as female gametophyte. Okay, so this is in brief about mode of reproduction. If you have any doubt anywhere, you can ask me, or else we'll move to apomixis, because from apomixis that section
Ma'am,
many a times, yeah, please,
ma'am, ma'am, ploidy of embryo sac.
confusing questions come.
Ma'am, ploidy of embryo sac.
Ploidy of embryo sac, I guess I answered once in WhatsApp group. Embryo sac is not a cell, means from where it is developing, microspore mother cell, right? If that depends on the condition. If the megaspore mother cell is initially 2n before undergoing that meiosis and then mitosis event. Okay, so initially megaspore mother cell is 2n. After that it underwent all the divisions and finally it became 7-celled 8-nucleated structure. That structure is called as embryo. We cannot say the ploidy of embryo sac. Okay, that will not be a correct term to say, isn't it? We will say the ploidy for a cell, but the particular structure, that is embryo sac, is having 7 cells. No, so for all the cells present in the embryo sac, we can tell the ploidy label, right? Like the synergids and antipodals, your excel, all of them are haploid. Then the center, that is the polar nuclei is there, haploid, and
2n.
they will merge to form the what? What is that structure called?
Triploid.
Two polar nuclei will merge to form what thing? Huh?
एक बीच वाला
Polar nuclei. This is the polar
PNC मैम,
nuclei.
PNC.
They will merge to form what thing? That thing is called
Secondary
what?
nucleus.
Secondary nucleus. Exactly. मैम पोल
Wait, secondary nucleus.
Yes, yes. What is that full form of PMC?
Pollen
They
grain
are
mother cell.
called secondary
pollen mother cell.
nucleus. Together they are called secondary. So if somebody is calling as polar nuclei, then you can tell the Ploidy level as N. Yes, it is secondary nucleus. Means this central pollen nuclei will fuse to form the secondary nucleus. So if so, N, okay, and if hello, yeah. So the central thing is called means polar nuclei that these two nuclei will fuse to form
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
secondary nucleus, which is 2n in ploidy. And when the male gamete comes and fuses with the secondary nucleus, that structure which is getting formed, that is called primary. Hello, now it's clear. Hello,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
hello, hello,
Hello. Yes,
hello.
ma'am.
Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's move to the next thing.
Ma'am, please repeat. Ma'am, please repeat.
Okay, I said that these two central two nucleus are called polar nuclei. These three are what? These three are what? These three. This is the
Antipodal
structure
cell.
of embryo sac. These three are called
Antibodal
Antipodal
cells.
cells.
Antibodal.
Antipodal and
antipode.
synergid.
These two, this central one is excel. These two are called synergids. Okay, the
Synergid.
center two, all of them are haploid basically. All these cells are haploid. These three, these two, these three, all are haploid. These two actually they barely remain out, I mean separate. They will fuse to each other to form a structure that is called as secondary nucleus. So secondary nucleus having Ploidy level of 2n. Okay, so the upcoming male gamete which is having the Ploidy level n, when it fuses with the particular thing secondary nucleus, it will be giving rise to a structure that is the Ploidy level of 3n.
3n.
So 3n is the ploidy level of primary endosperm nucleus. Okay, that will be further be matured and grow into the endosperm. So endosperm is having a ploidy level of 3n. Okay, and the another male gamete will come and fuse with the egg cell and it will be 4n. Okay, other than this the integuments present over here. Integuments are basically part of your female plant itself. So integument will have 2n ploidy level, and whatever things are present over here means inside this ovule, they are having ploidy level of n basically. Okay, and rest of the table I'll provide you a chart which ploidy level which one is having. Don't worry, if you find anything confusing we can discuss in next class. Okay, let's move. Coming to the topic that is apomixis. So I saw that day many of you are confused with this particular topic. That's why I choose this topic to discuss in in a little bit detail. So apomixis is from two words basically, that is away from that, from the act of mixing. Okay, so here there is no act of mixing, means normal fertilization event, sexual fertilization is prevented. Okay, it was first reported by Leeuwenhoek, the famous scientist Leeuwenhoek. He reported it in around 1719 in citrus plant. Okay, so the genotype of the embryo resulting, this sentence is quite important. From apomixis, how they will ask you questions is like they will ask the statements, and you need to find whether the statement is correct or wrong, something like that. So there confusion arises, many of the confusion. So all the sentences which I wrote means read it carefully. Whichever you don't understand, we can discuss. Okay, no problem. So the genotype of the embryo resulting from the plant will be same as that of seed parent. Why? Because from the particular plant only, from the particular seed parent only, the new embryo is getting generated, and there is no intervention of any other second parent. Only one parent is involved in the production of the seed. Okay, and another important point here is, unlike other processes of vegetative reproduction, this process apomixis will give you seeds. This is important. Here fertilization is not occurring, but seeds are getting formed. So it is a process of asexual reproduction, still seeds are getting formed. So if somebody asks you if the seeds are the product of only sexual reproduction, the answer will be no. Seeds can be formed asexually also. That is why the process of apomixis, right? Next thing comes here is the embryo sac development is uncoupled with complete meiosis. Here in some part of apomixis you can find embryo sac development, in some part you will not find any sort of embryo sac development. So it is not that in apomixis embryo sac development is completely absent. It is there, but the meiosis event which should go through, which the megaspore mother cell has to go through, it will not be complete. Okay, and the apomixis is basically more prevalent in case of your polyploids. Why it is so? In polyploids basically you can find many sort of abnormalities, or most of your numerical chromosome abnormalities like trisomy, tetrasomy, nullisomy, all the things you can find basically in case of your polyploids. Because they are having higher ploidy levels, sometimes they tend to become abnormal. So this is also not a normal procedure. For plant, normal procedure is your sexual reproduction. So when there is any sort of problem occurring, or plant is not capable of doing the sexual reproduction on a long run, plant may shift the process of reproduction to some other means. Then that's how this process of apomixis would have arisen. Okay, this is one interesting picture I found. So here you see that is the unreduced somatic cell, that is you can take this as your megaspore mother cell. So if it is going through reductional division, that is meiosis 1, so it will produce a reduced egg cell that is having the ploidy level of N. Okay, and reduced central cell both. Then it will go for the process of double fertilization and triple fusion. Okay, and it will form the sexual embryo with well formed endosperm. If there is no reduction, means if the 2n, initially it was 2n, no, so after reduction it became n. If there is no reduction division, means meiosis is not occurring or abnormal meiosis is occurring, so egg cell which is getting produced, that will have the ploidy level of 2n itself, it will not reduce to n. So what will happen after that? Some process is occurring. Here the process comes the apomixis, which will give rise to your apomictic embryo. So here they have given the procedures like parthenogenesis, autonomous development, etc. We'll see later on all these processes. Okay, this diagram is very much important, and wherever I found means this classification, it was little bit confusing everywhere, but according to my point of view, here they have explained somewhat clearly. So I chose all these dirty things on this particular page, because directly I took this from my book. That's why it is little bit dirty. So this classification was basically given by Stebbins. Okay, Stebbins, he has given this classification. So according to him, as apomixis, what the term apomixis tells you, apomixis is basically that is a reproduction where without fusion of gamete, that thing is called as apomixis. With me, you just draw this particular flow chart, you will get to understand better. So just write apomixis, and besides to that, make a bracket and write reproduction without fusion of gametes, that is called as apomixis. Okay, so in that two processes can be there. From here, make two branches. Okay, first one is agamospermy, second one is vegetative reproduction. In agamospermy, what occurs? Here the reproduction will be by means of seed. Here in all the cases, in both the branches, you can see that here the reproduction is occurring without fusion of gamete, but seed is getting formed, and in this particular process, that is vegetative reproduction, no seed is formed. So the apomix is classified into two parts. First one is agamospermy, second one is vegetative reproduction. Okay, so in agamospermy, yeah, so here you can see that in agamospermy seeds are there, in vegetative reproduction no seeds are there. So in vegetative reproduction, what is basically happening? Here the vegetative parts are further developed into act as the propagule, which will develop into the next generation plant, that is reproduction by means of bulbs or bulbils, runners, sucker, layer, or any part, vegetative part. Vegetative part means the body, plant body itself. Apart from flower is the reproductive organ which carries the reproductive structures. Apart from flower, whichever part you can see in a plant, all those are vegetative parts. Okay, from there, if the reproduction is happening, that is called as vegetative reproduction in simple words. Okay, again the next, forget about this one. Okay, no more classification for vegetative reproduction. Then coming to this classification of agamospermy. Okay, in agamospermy there are two classifications. Okay, so first classification is in agamospermy, both means meiosis and fertilization means in agamospermy meiosis and fertilization will be somewhat restricted in any of the cases. Okay, so if there is a development of gametophyte, if the gametophyte is developing, gametophyte means embryo sac, if there is formation of embryo sac occurring before forming seed, if the seed is getting formed, means we can think that okay, embryo sac might be there. If the embryo sac formation is occurring, that process will be called as gametophytic apomixis. If there is no embryo sac formation, that process will be called as adventitious embryony. Okay, are you getting my point? Are you following me? Here the classification is based on whether seed is formed or not. Second part, this agamospermy is divided into two based on whether embryo sac is there or not. Okay, so if the embryo sac is getting formed, that process will be called as gametophytic apomixis. Or if the embryo sac is not formed and the embryo is get directly developed from which part, integument or nucellar cells, from these particular parts, if the your embryo is getting developed, so that condition will be called as your adventitious embryony. So in adventitious embryony, you can see there is sporophyte, that is the 2n number of cell. From this 2n number of cell, 2n ploidal cell, this 2n ploidal cell is directly going for somatic divisions. Somatic divisions means mitosis it is undergoing to develop into the embryo. Embryo is the initial sporophyte, is the embryo. Sporophyte and gametophyte, do you understand the difference between them? Yes, anybody confused in sporophyte, gametophyte?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Confused?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Gametophyte means wherever the ploid is half, that is called gametophyte. Means the structure intermediate between sporophyte, means the condition of the plant where the cells are in the diploid condition or normal growth condition is there. That condition is called as sporophyte, on which the spore will be formed. Okay, microspore or megaspore. Microspore is pollen. Megaspore is
And
the flower parts. That is the, what is that called? Which part we called megaspore?
ovary anther.
Embryo
Ma'am,
stem.
structure
It
formed
is
after
not.
meiosis in ovule
Yeah,
from
ovule,
megaspore
basically
mother cell.
ovule we called as megaspore. So the structure which will form the spores, that is called as sporophyte. The structure which will lead to formation of gamete, that is called as gametophyte. Okay, is it clear? So basically sporophyte is deployed in nature and which will undergo meiosis to form gametophytes ultimately. So sporophyte and gametophyte, they alternate within the life cycle of the particular plant. So you can see in case of your angiosperms that gametophytic condition is very short lived, only for 1-2 days or to some days it will last, means that flowering condition or that gametes will be viable. Rest of the part of its life you can see it is staying as diploid condition only, that is a sporophytic condition. Okay, so that is the thing. I hope it is clear. No?
I mean, it started with the sporophyte and ended with the sporophyte. I'm not getting this in advent.
This particular sporophyte is your cell, integument cell or nuclear cells. Okay, and this cell, integument and nuclear cells are undergoing mitotic divisions to give rise to embryo. Here they, instead of sporophyte, if they would have written embryo, means it would have been clear. Embryo only. So embryo is also diploid, no? Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So embryo is the first cell of sporophytic plant. Any of the case you see in the gymnosperm, angiosperm, pteridophyte, anywhere, embryo is the first structure which is the first cell of sporophyte. Embryo will only divide and grow into the whole plant. That's why they started with sporophyte, ended with sporophyte. Is it clear
Yes,
now?
ma'am.
Okay, so that is about your adventitious embryony. So the point you need to remember over here, whatever I said, that was for your understanding. But the point they will ask you in the exam is like, if the embryo is getting developed from integument or nuclear cell, what that process will be called as? They will ask like this. So that process will be called as adventitious embryony. Okay, forget about this now. Next thing is where the that embryo sac is getting formed, that process is called as gametophytic apomixis. Okay, further gametophytic apomixis is classified into two parts. Okay, if your gameto that what embryo sac is formed from archaeosporial cell, that is megaspore mother cell, from that if the embryo is getting formed, that particular thing will be called as, sorry, if your embryo sac is getting formed from your megaspore mother cells division, that process will be called as diplospory. Is it clear? If the embryo sac, here the embryo sac is development is occurring, that is for sure in gametophytic apomixis, right? So the first process is from sporophyte. Sporophyte means the normal condition, means the normal flower. Right now it is going for divisions and formation of the embryo ultimately, and first step which is come in this process is formation of your embryo sac. Okay, embryo sac. So if the embryo sac is getting formed from archaeosporial cell or somatic cell, based on that they have divided the process into two parts. If the embryo sac is formed from archaeosporial cell, that is megaspore mother cell, that process is called as diplospory. If the embryo sac is getting formed from any other cell apart from megaspore mother cell, that is from any other somatic cell, this may include any part of nucellus, integument, or any cells of ovule. From that, if the gametophyte is getting formed, that is your embryo sac is getting formed, that process will be called as apospory. The diplospory process may or may not involve any sort of meiotic divisions, but apospory will never have any sort of meiotic division. It will only and only have somatic divisions, means mitosis. Here, partially meiosis may occur, but here there will no meiosis event. Okay. Next that what happened out of these two means out of apospory diplospory, what you got embryo sac, right? So in both the cases, here partially meiosis is happening, here meiosis not at all happening. Yeah, yeah, okay. So after the here you can see here the gametophyte is getting formed. So I told you in the previous slide that here the division is meiotic division will be abnormal. So here the unreduced gametophyte you will find means here you can see here unreduced XL will be there means 2n ploidy level will be there. So here the gametophyte is having 2n instead of n. Okay. So after that your embryo production process is starting. Okay. So further if uh, embryo is developing from the diploid gametophyte and from the XL, if the embryo is developing from XL itself of the embryo sac, that process will be called as parthenogenesis. If it is developing from any other cell in the embryo sac other than XL, like synergids, antipodals, or any other cell, that process will be called as apogamy or apogamety. Here they have mentioned apogamety. It is otherwise called as apogamy also, right? So what is the end product of this particular process? Parthenogenesis or apogamety. It will lead to production of your embryo. Embryo will be of which particular ploidy label? It will be of 2n ploidy. Okay. So why I'm telling you 2n ploidy over here is if at all if this process is occurring, no apospory is occurring, after that any of this process is occurring, it will be 2n only. If here because of some reason there is the means in the initial cell from from which the embryo formation is starting, if it is haploid in nature, in that time you can see the embryo will be haploid in nature. And if that particular condition is that embryo is haploid in nature, that plant will survive but it will not go for next generation, means that particular process will be called as non-recurrent apomixis. Here another two terms are coming, that is recurrent apomixis or non-recurrent apomixis. Recurrent apomixis means which can survive itself and it can multiply, it can give rise to its next generation. If the plant is diploid, it will go for the similar process in the next generation also, it can give rise to the similar plant. If the plant itself is haploid, if it wants to go through the diplospory process, can it go through? Means what will occur to it in next? So it cannot, no. So that process is, there are two terms, that is recurrent apomixis and non-recurrent apomixis. Okay. Then there are another two terms associated with the classification of apomixis, that is obligate apomixis and facultative apomixis. Obligate apomixis, any idea anybody is having?
Sexual
Yes, ma'am.
reproduction is completely absent.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, if the condition is that there is no sexual reproduction is there, only and only apomixis is there, that condition is called as obligate apomixis. If there is a chance of sexual reproduction along with apomixis, that condition is called as facultative apomixis. Okay. And in the exams, they will not ask you about the facultative apomixis. They will ask you the examples of obligate apomixis. Anybody having any idea about the example of obligate apomixis? That was asked in previous last year ICR NET, they have asked this question. And that may be asked in your JRF exam also. They will not make a distinction, no you are in JRF or where you are. So this topic is there means you need to know the basic understanding and the basic examples. Yes? No? We'll see the example in the upcoming slide, it is there. Okay. So this is another diagram. You just go through this diagram once. Okay, this is the normal process of your plant. Diploid somatic cell is there, meiocyte is there, meiosis is occurring, then haploid gametophyte male and haploid female gametophyte is getting formed. They are both are fusing to form, the fertilization event is occurring, and the zygote, that is sporophyte again it is coming. Okay, if from diploid somatic cell the further development of embryo sac is occurring, okay, that process is, I told you, no. So diploid somatic cell, if it is going for the diploid embryo sac formation, it is called apospory. If the megaspore mother cell is involved, that process is called as diplospory. Okay, both are developing into diploid embryo sac. For the diploid egg and diploid embryo is getting formed. If the haploid condition has came and haploid egg is going for formation of embryo, that condition is called as haploid parthenogenesis. Sorry, parthenogenesis can be of two type actually. Here only they have mentioned the haploid parthenogenesis, but diploid parthenogenesis can also be there in this particular process, that is the diploid egg. This particular process can be called as diploid parthenogenesis. They have not mentioned this. Diploid egg, it is going for development of diploid embryo, then it is called as diploid parthenogenesis. Actually all the diagrams you will find in different books, no, regarding apomixis, they are little bit confusing. So don't refer all the diagrams. The first initial diagram which I showed, that was very comprehensive. This one is very comprehensive. I guess this will make your understanding clear rather than any other book. Okay, because whatever books I read in my UG and PG, every time I will be very confused with apomixis. That's why I emphasized on this particular diagram, so that you will understand clearly from whatever point you are reading right now. Okay, this slide is very important from your objective point of view. So apomixis is a form of asexual reproduction. It occurs via seeds. Here embryos will develop without fertilization. It is known in many species, that is 300 species belonging to 40 families. It is more frequent in case of your Compositae, Rosaceae, Gramineae, all this family, it is more frequent. Okay, then they are usually perennials. They are basically found in case of your cross-pollinated species. Asexual means basically your all clonal propagation and apomictic species, they you will usually you will find in case of your cross-pollinated ones. Okay, so because they are cross-pollinated species, they are having, if you are going for selfing them, they will have high amount of inbreeding depressions. Okay, next thing is that apomixis is always, means not always, usually, you focus on this word, not always, it is usually associated with interspecific hybridization and polyploidy. We may get apomixis out of this all these processes. Okay, and facultative apomixis is more common in plant than obligate apomixis. Why? Because if at all, it will totally depend on the apomixis process of reproduction, that may what minimize the plant survival, means minimize the way of plant survival. If it is having another option also, like if the plant wants, it can shift to sexual reproduction, then it will be somewhat easier for the plant to survive. So that's why, that is the nature itself is having the phenomena that facultative apomixis is more common. Then apomixis you can find in case of your poa, paspalum, panicum, and all these things, cencrus. Then yeah, already told you this one. Then the ideal apomictic system should be male fertile. Yeah, you have any question, Ankit? You can ask.
Yes, ma'am. The clones and apomixes can both of them can be called as ephemeral and immortal.
Immortal, yeah, yeah, in a sense you can call, but apomixis is kind of immortal, means you can call, because it is having perpetuation is by seed, no, so it will perpetuate indefinitely. But in case of your clones, if any sort of disease or something is attacking that particular clone, it may or may not, it may get lost also. I mean, it may get extinct if you have not managed the particular thing. But in general you can call both of them as immortal, yes.
Okay, ma'am.
But more particularly apomixis, you can call it as immortal. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
then here ideal apomictic system should be male fertile. Why? Because they don't want the pollen, only the female gamete should be viable to give rise to the particular one gamete you want, means that flower structure should have something, but male fertility should not be there, self incompatible it should be. That is the ideal system, but it will not, it is not the case that all the time it will be present. Okay, next thing is that it should reproduce via pseudogamy. So I forgot to mention you regarding this term, that is pseudogamy. Anybody is having any idea regarding pseudogamy?
In this type of reproduction, like apomixis, there is no fertilization with pollen, but the entry of pollen is necessary.
Yeah, entry of pollen and the stimulus of pollination is necessary for the development of endosperm. So endosperm development is normal, and because that condition means that stimulus is necessary for the development of embryo. If if that situation is there, that particular thing will be called as pseudogamy. Okay. Yeah. So it is favored that reproduction should be via pseudogamy. Why? Because your endosperm development will be somewhat normal, so plant growth means embryo growth will not be hampered anyhow. Then apomixis should be dominant in nature, so that all the generation it will express. If it is recessive means there might be some problem with the expression. So it is ideal that it should be dominant in nature. Then it should be least affected by environmental influence should not be there, and it should be governed by major genes, not minor genes. If it is governed by minor genes means environmental impact will come to action. Okay. Then there is a condition that diplospory, in case of diplospory only you can find some sort of meiotic event. Okay, so that so what they're telling here is the we should manage the meiotic event in such a way that we need to avoid the recombination event. If the chromosomes are recombining means original combination of the chromosomes is lost. We don't want that, right? So whatever plant we have kept in apomixis, that should be remain as such without any intermixing of the chromosome or without any sort of recombination. That is all the requirements of ideal apomictic system, but these conditions are barely fulfilled in any of the apomixis plants. Okay, so
Ma'am,
basically,
last point.
yeah, what I told you is in diplospory you can find, I told you, some sort of meiotic event will be there, right? Meiosis division, abnormal meiosis will be there, but some part of meiosis you can see in case of your diplospory. You can see in this diagram I showed you, partly somatic or partly meiotic division. That partly meiotic division is called apomeiosis. Meiosis that occurs in case of your apomixis, that is called as apomeiosis. So there the normal reductional division and equational division will not occur. Okay, so so that
Okay, ma'am.
your progeny will not be, means the gamete which is formed out of this particular thing will not be n, ploidy will not be n. And here another thing that telling that here in the first division only in crossing over should occur, no in Pachuten. They will not allow the crossing over to occur. The meiotic system, the apomictic system should be designed in such a way that recombination should not be there. If recombination is occurring means initial chromosome was like this, let's say it was like this. If the recombination is occurring, this part will go to this one. So now what it will become? It will carry some portion of this particular plant chromosome, some part of this, and this one becomes something else. So the initial combination is lost, no. So that will affect your expression of vigor, and heterotic event means amount of heterosis the original plant was showing, that will be hampered somewhat. Okay, that's why they
Yes, ma'am.
don't want recombination to occur. Okay, so coming to the genetics of apomixis, I think it's time. I may need to stop the class. No problem. I guess there are some portions left. Okay, we'll deal with this in the next class, or else I'll take a short extra class for this. Okay. Okay, students, till now, anybody is having any doubt, you can ask, or else I have to end the session because the next class should have scheduled. Yeah, I will end with this particular fact. That is, obligate apomixis is seen in case of your Penicetum ciliary and Cenchrus ciliaris. Here you can see. Okay. Common name is buffel grass and bahia grass. There you can see. the obligate apomixis. That was one of the question of last ICR NET. Okay. Any doubt? Ask quickly, or else we'll end the session.
My doubt is not regarding class, ma'am. It's something
Okay,
different.
okay.
Will we get notes of all these classes?
Yes, you will get. Actually, I was little bit busy with my research work. That's why I was not able to give you the notes. I'm preparing it as soon as it will be finished. For now, I'll you just go through the lectures. Okay. As soon as I finish preparing it, I'll send you the things. Okay. You will get the
Ma'am, any
yeah.
example of facultative apomixis?
Facultative apomixis. It is in means all the examples, there is no common example. That's why I didn't mention it. I need to see, means apart from the obligate ones, wherever you see the apomixis, that is facultative apomixis. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Obligate ones are very rare. Obligate ones are very very rare actually. So that's why I focused on them. I'll check it out the exact examples. Okay.
Yes,
Anything else? So what I
no, ma'am.
want all of you to what are the points I told you that are important. You just go through them, because from this topic there will be very short questions, but they are very confusing. In the apomixis also, in the plody labels also, all the methods of pollination. You need to make a list of from various sources, whichever available with you. I'll be providing you, means as much as possible by me. Okay. Still you need to work hard, means make a proper note out of it, and make a flow chart of that apomixis, which I explained to you, types of apomixis. You will not get confused in that. Okay. Okay, then.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are you all studying properly? Is anybody having any problem with study? Just last 1 minute I'll talk, and I'll end. I think many of you have left. Okay, no problem. Still, whoever is present, any problem with your studies?
Ma'am, actually, we are in our home, so ma'am, it's not a regular. There is problem.
Oh, okay. No, that is the problem we are all facing since last 1 year. Right now, some colleges are open, some are not. Definitely, for you people, it will not be open. Perhaps this next 5 6 months will be like this only. So you may make your mindset that you have to appear the exam. Uh, yeah, now that I don't lose patience. Good, Bandana. So you have to make a mindset that you have to read in your home only. Previously, before your 10th class or something, you used to stay in your home and reading. No, that habit you had, but after going to colleges and all, you lost the habit of reading at home. So find a corner or find a room in your home where you can study silently. Make a proper timetable. Don't make a timetable like from 24 hours I'll be studying for 18 hours. If you are now studying for 2 hours, directly going for 18 hours is not at all possible. Make gradually improvise it. If you are now studying 2 hours, means gradually increase it to 4 hours, then 6 hours, then 10, something like this. Okay. Don't make a timetable which you only cannot follow. If even if one day you will follow, second day you will sleep, simply tired out of the previous day's study. Oh, I studied this much today, I'll take a leave for 1 week. That only everyone do. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody is laughing, so it is correct only. Okay, so don't make a timetable like that. They make a timetable which will be little bit challenging to you. It is not like Mount Everest so that you cannot cross it. Okay. And that is the thing, you have to make a mindset first that I have to study from home itself. If the college is opening, definitely library is a better place to study, but nobody can assure that when college will open, when things will be there. I hope everyone has purchased the basic books. Kindly purchase it. Don't depend on the soft copies because reading from soft copy may not be that effective. Kindly purchase the basic books. Okay, basic
Yes, ma'am.
books.
I
Yeah.
am going through BDCing genetics plan. No, not genetics, plant breeding. For genetics, I
Okay.
am referring Fundan Singh, and for pathology, I have four or
Whichever
five
book you are
different books.
referring from the list I told you that day, whichever book you are referring, please take the hard copy of that book and then read. Okay, make underlines, whichever. If you don't want your book to be dirty, make notes out of it. Short notes, I already told you, but book should be there with you. Okay, for objective books and all, you can depend on soft copy if at all not possible for you to purchase, but textbook should be there anyhow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, tell. Crying, huh? Don't cry. Somebody was saying something. Hello?
Yes.
Am I gone? No, 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 I'm here. Okay, then students, study hard. If you find any problem, we can discuss. I told you always, don't feel yourself lonely with your studies. We are there for you. Okay, and go through the class. What? Recorded session as many times as you want. Regarding the previous class, actually I'm finding searching for the link, there is some problem with the means in that software system, so I'm not able to find it till now. If at all I will not be able to find that particular class link, so I'll take that class some other day. Okay, don't worry at all that you will not have the recording of that particular class. I'll be discussing that particular thing, that is the many of you have not there in that class, I know. So don't worry, if I'll not be able to find that particular link for the recording class, I'll take that class again in brief some other day. Okay, so and for the economic botany section, I asked all of you to go through your basic notes. Are you all going through? I hope you are going through.
Actually, this is my first class, ma'am.
First class. Okay, for others, nobody is replying. Okay, you all are bored, I see, I think. Okay, then study properly. Bye bye. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.